People who never feel like they belong anywhere often think something is wrong with them, like they missed some invisible class where everyone else learned how to fit in. They walk into rooms and instantly feel out of sync, not rejected, not ignored, just out of place. And what makes it worse is that they can't explain why. Here's the strange part. Psychology doesn't see this as a flaw. In fact, many researchers argue it's the opposite. Feeling like you don't belong isn't random. It's usually a signal, a sign that your brain is wired differently from people who adapt easily to groups, trends, and social norms. Most people belong by default. They absorb the rules of the environment without thinking. They mirror behaviors. They adjust their opinions slightly to match the group. Their nervous system is optimized for social blending. And for most of human history, that made sense. Belonging meant safety. But some people don't do that automatically. Their brains scan deeper. Instead of asking, how do I fit in here? They subconsciously ask, does this actually make sense to me? And that one difference changes everything. It makes small talk exhausting. It makes group dynamics feel artificial. It creates that constant feeling of standing one step outside the circle, even when people are kind to you. This is why you can be surrounded by people and still feel alone, not because you're disconnected, but because your mind isn't built for surface level belonging. It's built for meaning, depth, alignment. And that creates a quiet tension because the world rewards people who adapt quickly, not people who question silently. So you grow up thinking you're the odd one, the misfit, the person who never fully settles. But psychology has a different explanation. And once you understand it, that lifelong feeling of not belonging starts to make sense in a way that's strangely relieving.
People who never feel like they belong aren't failing at social life. Their brains are simply processing the world differently. While most people seek comfort through similarity, these individuals are wired to notice mismatch. Psychologists often link this to heightened self-awareness and pattern sensitivity. Your mind doesn't just register what's happening, it registers why it's happening. Tone changes, unspoken rules, emotional inconsistencies. You notice when conversations feel scripted, when laughter feels forced, when people are performing instead of being real. That awareness comes at a cost. Belonging usually requires a certain level of unconscious participation. You suspend parts of yourself. You go along to get along. But if your brain keeps flagging things as inauthentic, it becomes hard to relax, hard to merge, hard to feel at home in spaces that others find effortless. This is why many people like you feel older than their age or out of sync with their generation. It's not because you're antisocial. It's because your identity isn't built around approval loops. You don't get the same dopamine hit from fitting in. Your reward system is tied to internal alignment, not external validation. Research shows that people who struggle with belonging often score higher in traits like introspection, openness, and independent thinking. They form fewer bonds but deeper ones. They don't attach quickly, but when they do, it's meaningful. The problem is that modern society doesn't reward that wiring. It rewards visibility, speed, adaptability, so you end up feeling like the outlier, even though historically, minds like yours were essential. They questioned tribes, they challenged norms. They noticed when something was off long before everyone else did. So the discomfort you feel isn't random. It's a side effect of seeing too clearly in a world that prefers not to look too closely. What most people never realize is that not belonging everywhere slowly changes the way you move through life. You start observing instead of participating, listening instead of talking, measuring spaces before entering them emotionally. At some point, you stop trying to explain yourself. You stop trying to make others understand why certain environments drain you, why some friendships feel loud instead of warm, why fitting in always feels temporary. You realize that explaining doesn't create belonging. Alignment does. People who never feel like they belong often carry a quiet grief, not because they are lonely in the traditional sense, but because they see how easily others connect, blend, and belong without questioning it. Meanwhile, they're constantly asking themselves, is this really me? That question alone separates you from most people. But here's the part that reframes everything. Belonging was never meant to be universal. Your brain isn't designed to merge with every group. It's designed to protect your identity, to resist dilution, to notice when something doesn't align, even if everyone else seems comfortable. Psychologically, this is often linked to a stronger internal compass. You don't outsource your sense of self. You don't become someone just because the environment rewards it. And yes, that makes life harder at times. It means fewer instant connections, more silence, more self-reflection. But it also means something rare. When you do connect, it's real. It's not built on convenience or proximity. It's built on resonance, on shared values that don't need to be negotiated, and those connections last longer. Even if they're fewer. Many people feel surrounded and still unseen. Others feel alone but deeply known by a select few. One is loud, the other is meaningful. If you've spent your life wondering why you feel slightly out of place no matter where you go, this isn't a flaw you need to fix. It's a signal you need to understand. Your sense of belonging isn't broken. It's simply selective. And before this video ends, I want you to pause for a second. If any part of this felt like it was describing you a little too accurately, you're not imagining that. And you're not the only one. If you're comfortable, write, "I feel this," in the comments. Not to explain yourself, just to be seen by people who understand without needing details. And if you want more videos that quietly explain the parts of you that never quite fit into simple labels, leaving a like genuinely helps this reach the right people. You don't belong everywhere. You're not supposed to.